Hello and welcome to the Men's Movement Podcast. I am your host, Vince Casey. This is a podcast where we explore the rising culture in men's healing and interview top thought leaders about the positive shift occurring in the masculine consciousness. The Men's Movement Podcast is in partnership with the Brotherhood of Cascadia. Brotherhood of Cascadia, connecting men to their hearts. Our guest today is Riverstone Waldorf. He is the host of the Wolfpack Men's Circle in Eugene, Oregon. He is a facilitator at the Brotherhood of Cascadia, a leader at Sacred Sons, and he's a true friend. Riverstone, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Halo. This is an honor being your inaugural voyage into this new podcast. Congratulations. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. Yeah, this is so fitting that you are the first guest. I remember 2 summers ago, we were having coffee and I was asking you about the men's work you were part of, and you encouraged me to check it out. And so I did. And I went to my first EMX in Washington with Sacred Sons, and it was a game changer. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm so glad to have included you in that trip and to see your growth since then, and your involvement, your engagement in men's work has just been beautiful.
Yeah, it's really been helpful also to have something that we can do bi-monthly together since you started the Wolfpack here in Eugene. Doing the work at an event is one thing, but then making it a part of your weekly practice or your daily life really kind of gets you to that next level.
Yeah, I agree. And I would say having a local circle where we can have that consistency and drop in together and get to know each other at a deeper level, a deepening, having through one group after another group, week after week, month after month, really offers a level of growth that you can't receive just going to one transformational experience, getting to know someone and their life, their challenges, and have the opportunity to hold them accountable to what they're working on is priceless.
Absolutely. Speaking of EMX, you just returned from one in Washington. How was the most recent event for you?
Well, I always look forward to these events, and going to making new friendships with men and deepening into my relationships with men that I've been with before, and experiencing the breakthroughs, the growth, the individual heart opening of men is really rewarding to be witness to that and to have these practices alive in my life and to deepen into the ritual of men's work. It's really beautiful. And this was no exception. A big part of the embodied masculine experience is the location, the setting of where this is taking place. And the EMX in Washington, in Brennan, Washington, is one of the most special places I've ever been. The land, the water, the trees, the bald eagles flying overhead, the seals playing out in the ocean. And we had perfect weather this past EMX. Just all of it culminates to create this container of beauty for men to deepen into self-awareness. Really fabulous.
What was one of your biggest takeaways from that weekend?
Well, how incredibly powerful it is when men have a shared intention to sink into their heart space. And when other things have failed certain men, maybe they've been in therapy for years and years, and they've gone to different self-growth workshops and show up to this maybe feeling skeptical. Maybe this is just another thing that they're attending with the hopes of having some breakthrough. And knowing that bit of background about men, and seeing them have really transformational experiences, seeing that breakthrough, seeing them come with heaviness and leave physically lighter, really setting down those burdens that they've carried around since childhood, and leaving so refreshed and new from the experience. Seeing that never gets old. It's just so beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of trepidation during my first experience. I think one of the biggest things that was kind of on the treadmill of my brain was just kind of, oh man, we're going to do sacred combat. I've never really been in a physical altercation before, and I was a really small guy in high school. And the idea of having to go up against another guy or maybe getting punched in the face was just kind of just on a hamster wheel in my brain, just thinking about whether, oh, maybe I don't want to do this, or maybe I'll ask them if we can go easy or whatever. But then when the time came to actually do sacred combat, I think that it was probably the biggest breakthrough I had for my first weekend, for sure. It was, I guess I felt a strength and a power in me that I didn't really know existed. And it made me feel like I had the ability to protect myself, or like I had the ability to stand in if somebody was going to attack me or my family, and I was capable. And that was for some reason, that was the one thing that just unlocked it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that many men who look at the offering of sacred combat as part of the Sacred Sons model and experience can be really turned off by that. And I've gotten that feedback. The other things seem interesting, but the part about the sacred combat is something that doesn't feel aligned to me. It puts me off to attending the experience. And what I'm aware of, and what I found, what I'm aware of is that it's held in such a way, and leading up to the actual being head to head with another person for 3 minutes, there are steps taken to set the tone in a way that you recognize that you're looking out for that other man, that it's a dance that you're doing together. You're giving each other an opportunity to face something that is an edge for you. And taking those steps and having that shared intention creates a beautiful experience. Knowing that you're safe, and knowing that you're held by the group creates something that can be really transformative. And the reason why sacred combat is used is because it gets you into your body like nothing else. It gets you aware of your edges. All these things come online. For many men, or maybe a majority of men, if they've had a physical confrontation in the past, there hasn't been that container of safety connected to it. It's been maybe traumatic. It might have really created fear deep inside, and been something that has been associated with negative experience, to put it lightly. To be able to have it held in a safe, really therapeutic way can be transformative, can really change one's outlook on being physical in that way. And it's a great example of masculine alchemy, going from feeling very fear based, feeling very guarded in that way, to coming through on the other side of the experience, feeling empowered, feeling energized, and looking back and be like, whoa, that was a lot of fucking fun. I never knew getting hit in the face could feel so good. So shockingly surprising. That's what I see like over and over. Men who have a lot of trepidation about the experience, and then on the other side of it, you just see them lit up and feeling so alive, so embodied. Yum.
Yeah, I can definitely say I never felt more fully present in my life than going face to face with another man. I was just fully on board. And yeah, like you said, a game changer for sure. Yeah. Before I found this work, I was working on myself, but all I was finding were teachers that were focused on success and performance. Not that they weren't helpful, but there was little to no room for my soul and my spirit in the work. It was all about being up at 5 a.m., in the gym at 5:30, meditate at 6:30, cold shower, protein shake, etc. So even though I was getting a lot done in my life and I felt like I was doing work, I wasn't healing my trauma. And there was still this hurt little child in me begging to be seen. How is the men's work that you're a part of different than that?
Well, so what you're speaking to is having some form of a practice of discipline, which is really useful. It has its purpose, and it's definitely part of being fully whole as a person. And what men's work is about is that process of becoming more self-aware. And it may be self-awareness in your physical pillar, like you're speaking to, and in training and going to the gym on a regular basis. And it also has to do with your mental health, how you are reacting to the world as opposed to responding to the world, your connection to spirit, your practice of being aware of how you are one with nature and how you access that connection. Your emotional states as you walk in the world, how you make choices on your health, what you eat, what you put in your body, all these aspects of who you are and what you are and your experience as a human. Men's work is an opportunity for you to look at yourself, to see your shadows, bring overall awareness. And the core of that is being seen, being witnessed, speaking into those parts of you with deep honesty to yourself and honesty in the group, so that you can be really seen and be able to deeply feel your experience as a human. So the beautiful thing about men's work, the powerful, magical, mystical piece, is that when you are in a group of other men, as a man, you get a reflection that only other men can give you. And until you've actually experienced that, you don't know what I'm talking about. For a lot of men, in relationship in particular, they have their partner as their one reflector. And to a large extent, that's not the healthiest thing for the relationship, nor the place where that man really needs to get reflection to go deep. So if a man really wants to understand his place in the world and as a man, the access point is other men. There's not a substitute. That's why this is such important work.
Yeah, it's I try every day to try to put a thumb on kind of what's happening in the growth cycle and what it is that's causing the growth. And it is a little bit shrouded in mystery, but I think that more than anything, just being accepted by other brothers, it just starts to give you this sense of peace, this sense of belonging, and that awareness piece that experiencing yourself in another man's eyes, it's life changing, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the pain that men experience is because they're suffering in silence. They feel alone. They feel like they're the only ones dealing with this, the heaviness of existence, of the human experience. And when men recognize, and they sit in a circle and they sit in council with other men, and they see, wow, these men are experiencing the same difficulties as I am. Wow. This is like most guys are experiencing the same stuff. Holy shit, I'm not in this alone. There's something that lifts from a man's shoulders when they realize, okay, we're in this game together.
Yeah, we're not so different.
We're not so different. We're so much alike. It's incredible. And yeah, just having the witness, I'll say that with capital W, having the witness of other men is medicine. And each man has medicine for other men to bring, that they bring forward. And when they have the opportunity to share that medicine, everyone benefits. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely, for me personally, in certain parts, like getting into circle with new men, in the beginning was kind of scary because I just saw some men coming into group and was like, whoa, this dude is like shadowy. And then just watching them progress through the weeks and months of doing work, and then, then receiving medicine from them and just being like, wow, we're really all like in our core, like good, benevolent, spiritual beings that are just trying to find our way back to that path. And yeah, that's been a beautiful part for me for sure. A lot of the work that you do is considered a return to the old ways, when men used to gather and have councils on a regular basis. Why is it so effective to return to ancient wisdom in these modern times?
Well, it's no secret that we've been fractured. We've been fractured from our roots. So for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years, we've lived in these tight-knit communities, these tribal settings. And there's been a great restructuring over the past couple hundred years into these so-called nuclear families. And the disconnection is real. It's really felt. We've all felt the repercussions, and our society has suffered. And what is really noticeable more and more is all the wisdom of the old ways. The indigenous cultures that still remain on Earth are a prime example of how beautiful it can be when there is a greater community of uncles, grandparents, extended family, community working together and in consort, in relationship with the natural world, and practices that have gone on for thousands of years, using that wisdom and being in communion and community, there are ways of being that are so healthy, and so supportive. So, as a model of way to be, there's a beacon of truth in the ancient ways. And we benefit so much when we look to the past to chart a better way into the future. So, if we can take the time to cultivate those old ways, there's so much that comes from it. So much good.
Well, speaking of old ways, you facilitate a men's group here in Eugene that meets twice a month called the Wolfpack. And you start every meeting with agreeing to the acronym CHAOS. Can you walk us through what CHAOS is and why it's so important to have these agreements in place before starting a men's circle?
Sure. So, CHAOS, an acronym that basically lays out what our agreements are at the beginning of the group. And C is for confidentiality, because what men are sharing, they're sharing their deepest secrets and into the recesses of their heart. And it's necessary that men do not share outside the group these details of their life. And in order for them to really share in a vulnerable way, you have to have that. It's so important with any personal growth work that you have confidentiality. So that's the C in CHAOS. And H is for honesty, because without being really honest with oneself and others, you don't get any work done. That's what the work's all about.
Yeah, why are you even here?
So yeah, it takes a lot of courage to show up and have that intention to be honest with oneself and others. And that is the heart of the work, being really honest. And that's the H. And A is for acceptance, and acceptance of everyone in the group that come from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, racial backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, political points of view, you name it. It's an agreement that you accept wherever someone's coming from, and also accept oneself wherever you are in your life, wherever you are in your day. We as a group accept you if you're having a hard time, whatever it is, to have a real acceptance of each person, however they're showing up. O is for ownership. We are the captains of our individual vessels. You want to own your ship. And also we use I statements because it's more impactful when you do so. And S is what I think is the most important. S is for sacred. The work that we're doing is soul work. And each man is part of, a spark of, an embodiment of the divine. And this work is about our souls. It is spiritual work, which makes it very divine. And so holding the space in a sacred way, this is our ceremony when we step into it at Wolfpack. Having that intention and awareness as we're moving through whatever practices we're doing is paramount. So that's CHAOS, and that's something that I borrowed from Sacred Sons. That is that's the guidelines that they also follow in their group processes.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that it's such an important part of the work. And yeah, being confidential, being able to be open and honest and just have that be accepted is so powerful. I think that I was afraid of, if I told my truth, to a group of men, that, I would just immediately be cast out or rejected. So to have a place where I can go in and do shadow work, and I leave there with a group of brothers that love me as I am. It's healed so much of those deep inner wounds. So yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you. And yeah, sacred is a really big part of this, and I feel like modern day spirituality has sort of shoehorned into this grab bag of abundance where people are visualizing more money, and they're doing their affirmations to create relationships, but there's not this seeking of the divine or seeking a relationship with spirit or to commune with nature. And I feel like so much of that is getting kind of left behind. So it's really nice to have a group of men that are kind of focused towards actually building a relationship with the divine.
We are all divine. And we really are. We are a spark of creation. And it's important to remember that in any moment in your day, that life is a miracle, that we are a miracle. We are creation looking back at ourselves. How incredible is that? So, I don't know about for you, but for me, just bringing that to my awareness fills me with something beautiful, something joyful. And it's one of the most important reminders that I hold for myself. How miraculous it is just to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent so much of my life kind of filled with anxiety or this premonition that something was about to go wrong, that I was constantly trying to stay 3 seconds ahead of the moment. And really have just recently started to get a little bit deeper into and experience that, just the miracle of now, just to be alive on this planet with all your organs working, and to have food on the table, and to have rivers near you and mountains that you can go play in. How much of a miracle that is, and just how important it is to stay present with that. And I think you nailed it on the head. I was going to ask you what you thought was sacred, but I think you just told me.
You are sacred.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So are you.
I feel that. All the beauty of the world, all living things, all things that don't seem like they're alive too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you relate to the unseen?
By feeling. Yeah. This has been a real process for me, learning how to feel. Just a few years ago, I thought I was feeling, but I wasn't really feeling. Not deeply. Not like now. That's been a process for me of taking off armor from my heart and learning how to live with an undefended heart. And it's something that's a lifelong practice for me. I see that. This world has all the lessons I need, and I only need to listen and take the time to drop into my body, which I've been given as this instrument to pick up all the lessons that are waiting for me. And it comes down to really simple things. I think oftentimes the whole process of awakening, use that word, have been complicated. And for me, from what I experience, it comes down to simple processes. One, these incredible instruments, these two instruments, our left and our right lungs, and our heartbeat. That, just by itself, if put to good use, is a connector to what we need to really connect. And what I found is if I remember my breath, great things can come from that. So that's a one way that I can connect through my breath and stillness. Stillness is my friend. Stillness is my ally. Let's leave it at those two things. What can you do? How far can you take your connection to spirit through stillness, to breath, to listening in those ways? For me, it's been a beautiful growth journey just with those tools.
Yeah, I think that if we just did the breath work that we did at these men's events alone, that you would probably come back a changed person. There's something so powerful about breath work and just making you fully present with your environment. Well, you are the steward of some land outside of town called the Land of Oz, which is an acronym for a healing space. And you also tend to animals as a farrier. How big a part of this identity crisis that men face is simply just being out of touch with nature and the land?
I don't think I'm like the definitive person like that knows the answer to all of that. I certainly hear a lot about people's disconnection and the ramifications of that. So, I'm of the opinion it has probably a lot to do. A lot of people just don't have access to fresh air and nature and being out in the world, in the natural world. And there's plenty of studies that show that getting out in nature and having a deeper connection to the natural world is therapeutic and really healthy for people. Gosh, we are part of nature. So part of the pain and the suffering that's experienced by people is, again, disconnection to the spirit world and to the natural world. So anytime a person may come back into connection, they're becoming more in alignment with their natural state, which is it's natural. It's of nature. We are of nature. We are of Mother Earth. So any way we can bring that more into our lives, as far as I know, it can only be really beneficial. For me, I'm very fortunate. My story is that from a very young age, I was cast in the world of horses. My mother was way into horses when she was a kid, and she wanted to pass that on to me. So while other kids were playing baseball and football and soccer and sports and stuff, I was out at the barn, horseback riding. I was in my first horse show when I was 5 years old and rode competitively up into my teen years. And the only time I wasn't around horses weekly was the 4 years I went off to college. And I realized that there was a there was that connection that I had through my connection with the horse that was missing during those years. So as soon as I got out of school, I got a horse again. And before I knew it, I had 7 horses, and I was doing guided tours in Costa Rica. And I realized horses need to be part of my life. They're a deep connection to nature for me, and so therapeutic and fulfilling in so many ways. And they've been my greatest teacher of the natural world. And from there, I made a career in hoof care. And I've been a professional farrier for 27 years now. And I feel very privileged to have an occupation that fulfills me in so many ways and so many levels, and also keeps me working outdoors in nature. My workplace is barn, stables, and alongside these big furry friends of mine, that keep me really connected in a beautiful way, where I continue to learn from them, and there's a reciprocation that continues to feed my soul. Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to go ahead and pause for a word from our partner, and we'll be back in a few moments with Riverstone Waldorf.
Hey there, this is Riverstone Waldorf, inviting you to attend the Brotherhood of Cascadia Emergence 2, happening July 25th through the 28th in Eugene, Oregon, out in the country. If you are interested in a transformational experience with other men happening this summer, please check out www.jamielightheart.com/BCE2024. You can also find us on Instagram at Brotherhood of Cascadia, and we hope that you will join us this summer.
Welcome back to the Men's Movement Podcast. We are here with Riverstone Waldorf, and we're going to jump back into the conversation we were having before. One big part of the Western culture that I've noticed with men and disconnection is initiation used to be a part of every young man's life, where he was initiated and crosses over the threshold from boyhood into manhood. It's a pretty common practice in indigenous cultures, but in modern Western culture, we don't have that tradition in place anymore. Is this contributing to some of the bigger issues that men are facing today?
I imagine so. It's just part of it's part of the greater disconnect. Not having the community that we had for eons, that's missing. Not having shared culture as you move from boyhood to manhood. That is a disconnect from the way we've evolved, the way our brains have grown over centuries. It's a disconnect. What happens when you have a disconnect? Things go sideways. There's dysfunction. So bringing old ways, ancient practices back into our life is essential for the evolution of humankind. And we have lots of examples to show us the way. And it's heartening to see that there are more programs being offered for young men to have these rites of passages, to have these threshold experiences in their life. So yeah, I think it is impactful when certain things are missing in our lives. And any way we can reconnect is going to be the healing for everyone, for society. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of disconnects, a lot of what men are facing, the challenges today is our relationships with our fathers were disconnected as well. We come from a generation of the absent father or the abusive father. Like the man responsible for protecting us was oftentimes hurting us more than anyone else in our lives. How do we begin to move through those wounds and begin to reinstate ourselves as the protectors of our families?
Well, the original wound is from our parents. Mm-hmm. If it's not from dad, it's from mom, right?
Right.
And we carry that from the beginning, from our formative years, under 5 years old. We carry that with us. And the more we can understand that, the better we can understand ourselves. So much stems from that. Like everything can go so-called right. Parents can have the best of intentions and have the most skills as a parent, and things can't necessarily be done in just the right way. Especially going back to what we were talking about before, having the support of a community. That's what has been really healthy for a human's development. And nowadays, if you're lucky, you have both parents in the game as parents from the get-go. But still, it's just those two parents. Where are the uncles and aunties? Mm-hmm. Where are all the other kids their age that they're running with and learning from? Where is that interaction? It's missing. There's a void there. So under just the best nuclear family situation, there's hurt and there's harm and there's trauma that's taking place. So there's healing for everyone. There's healing enough for everyone to go around, right? We all have our work to do. But yeah, what I notice so often in a men's circle when you're going around, maybe you have a prompt. What was your relationship as a child with your father? Well, I'd say 90% of the men can point out where harm was done, where they were really hurt. Whether it's their father physically abusing them, emotionally abusing them, or emotionally neglecting them, just not being there at all, or being in the room but being totally checked out, right. Watching the ball game or dealing with their own trauma through alcohol abuse, right. or whatnot. There's harm being done. So there's healing. There's healing to go around for all men. That's what happens. That father wound is a very big one, and extremely prevalent. And that's what is addressed so often in a men's circle, is that wound. And you go around and each man has a share that is reflected in the man beside them. There's healing that starts with that, knowing that, okay, all right, this is real. This has happened. We're in this together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me personally, I know my childhood was basically kind of being raised by spankings. I don't know if I can remember a day from like age 5 to age 12 that I wasn't spanked for leaving the milk out, leaving my baseball in the front yard. It was just like this constant barrage of like being disciplined for screwing up, but what I was screwing up on wasn't that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. And with my son now today, whenever I see him do things that would have gotten me a spanking, like I immediately want him to stop. Not because it's my personal preference, but because I'm trying to protect him from this overlord that's not even in the room anymore. And for me, that's how I break the cycle. But I don't want to just break the cycle. I want to create a new one that's benevolent and loving. What type of advice would you give to fathers that are out there doing the work, that really want to make a positive impact on their children's lives and begin to right the ship of the absent or abusive father?
If I were to break it down to the most simplest thing, I would say capital P for presence. What children, especially young, when they're young, what they want is for you to be there with them in whatever it is they're doing and engaged, to be curious, to be there with them, and whatever it is. And so often parents feel they have to be doing this and that and the other. And a lot of the acting out and behavior that children are exhibiting is because they don't feel seen. They don't feel heard. They want attention. And so what can parents do? Give your child attention. Engage them. Hear them. Listen to what they're saying through their making loud and rambunctious behavior or whatever it is. See me, mom. See me, dad. I need to be seen by you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They need your attention. It
Turn
just
that
comes
phone
down
off.
to, like, more love.
More love, more kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Turn the phone off.
Yeah, attention and patience, and some grace.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big one. So we're kind of getting towards the tail of our discussion here today. I was curious if there was anything you would like to say to men out there that are listening that might be on the fence about coming into an event or going to a men's circle.
I think that if you're the kind of person who wants to improve as an individual, if you have some sense of a growth mindset, if you know that there's more potential inside of you, because there is, but if you feel that and you want to be challenged and be held accountable, those things are important to do on your own. But if you want to be more impactful, having men see you where you are and hold you to account when you're straying and call you out on your shit, like maybe a friend might not do that for whatever reason, but someone in a men's group having that attention of, like, look, I see what you're doing. You're doing that thing again. If you want to be held to account, then men's work might be for you. And if you feel that the idea of being in a group of men isn't for you, well, that makes sense, because you haven't been in a group of men to really have something to compare it to. I think it comes down to your own personal curiosity. Do you have curiosity about what might be possible? Do you want to do better?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you care about you? Do you want to just continue along the same road and then that's fine and good and that's enough for you? Well, then you're not going to seek out opportunities for personal growth. But if you want to be the most you can be, this may be something that could be helpful for you.
Yeah, there's definitely a discomfort to a lot of things. We call it finding your edge. It's not always comfortable being in a men's group, but you're always going to get pushed to do your best. And even our relationship, we've kind of progressed over the last couple of years, because when I first met you, we were buddies, we were brothers, and we still are brothers. But then I had to start learning how to relate to you as a leader and a facilitator. And there's times that you've brought correction into my life, and it wasn't always comfortable, but I think that's what men need, is to be able to hear from other men, like, hey, why don't you try this way? And it doesn't have to be you're wrong or you're bad or you're this. It's just I'm your elder. Let me help you elevate. And that's one thing that I think all the facilitators have to offer through Sacred Sons, through Brotherhood of Cascadia, and all the different men's work events that are being held across the country.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not starting with honesty, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? You know, we're here to improve. Like, once we know better, we want to do better. And yeah, it's not always comfortable. Like, if it were, we wouldn't get anything done. We wouldn't be making any progress as men if it were just comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
We need to challenge each other. We need to confront each other at times. Through that confrontation, that's where like really things move. And what we're really talking about is moving energy in our growth, in our healing. If we just stay the same, we keep doing the same routines, we're not going to get anywhere. We need to shake things up and move. We got to move. So that's what we're doing. We're given the opportunity to push each other and to challenge one another. To move.
Well, that's why they call it a movement. And lastly, what do you kind of see as the future of this men's work, or what do you hope the future of this work is?
Well, for me, my hope would be that men's circles, men's councils becomes just the norm. That it's just like, oh yeah, of course you're in a men's circle. This is just the norm. It's not the less than 1% of men who are showing up to do this. That is just a part of re-indigenizing ourselves, to taking those ancient technologies of sitting and sitting together in council, to bring more purpose into our lives, and just being like anything else that you do. You go to the gym because you want to take care of your physicality. You go to a men's circle because you want to have that sacred reflection of other men that only men can give to you. You see? Mm-hmm. You look in the mirror and you see one thing. You look into another man's eyes as you're speaking your truth. You get a whole different message.
Could you see a future where we're kind of moving back into tribal societies, or at least maybe a deeper standard of communal living?
Well, I think there's people that are already doing that. I think there's been a pretty good record of like back to the land since the late 60s, early 70s. There's been a lot of experimentation. And there's people who are committed to living in this way. And everybody's road is different. I think that incorporating the knowledge of modern times and the ancient wisdoms and bringing it together, charting a future that's brighter and healthier for our communities is wonderful. And I see people doing it. I see people who are really committed to that way, to doing things in a really good way. So
yeah, absolutely.
Time will tell.
Well, I am honored to have you on as my first guest. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for bringing this technology to Eugene and to me and the other men that it's affected, and for organizing the first ever Sacred Sons event in town. That was awesome. And just your commitment and love that you have for this work. Before I let you go, let's leave these men with some resources. If someone wants to come to Wolfpack or Brotherhood of Cascadia, what's the best way to reach out?
An easy way is through Instagram. You can find the Wolfpack Men's Circle. There's an / between each word. Wolf _pack _men's _circle. Mm-hmm. So every other week we have a meeting and I post the time, and there's a contact information for me there. I just ask that you register ahead of time. We keep this circle at around 15 men. So it stays potent for everyone. It's 2.5 hours long. We meet from 6:45 to 9:15. It's on Wednesday nights. And you can also find Brotherhood of Cascadia at Brotherhood of Cascadia on Instagram.
Easy enough.
That's the easy way to find us.
All right. Well, thank you to Brother Riverstone for coming on today. I would like to thank our partner, Brotherhood of Cascadia. Be sure and join us for Emergence 2, July 25th through 28th in Eugene. And if you need assistance finding an event near you, be sure to email us at themensmovementpodcast@gmail.com. Coming up next, we have Hunter Torin. He is a somatic movement therapist, a men's facilitator, and a keeper of the sacred Hawthorne medicine. Until then, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.